Okay, welcome back. Now, this video, I just realized we didn't actually add a jump animation, like a second jump animation. So we just want to play the jump animation again. So we'll do this really quickly before we continue. So inside the animator, I've got a box man jump start. I'm just going to duplicate that animation. And I'm just going to put it in here so that I can use it. And then I'm just going to rename that animation. I'm just going to put it here, call it double jump. Okay, so that I just have it. And then I'm going to right click from box jump start, transition to the double jump. And I need just a trigger, basically something that's going to fire it off. So I'm going to add a trigger, and this is going to be called, let's just call it double jump. I'm going to control C just to copy that. And this is going to be fired when, there we go. I'm going to turn the has exit time off. This is going to be fired when I actually double jump. So we're going to choose double jump. It's going to fire off. And then we're going to go from this one essentially down back to the jump land, which the transition is grounded to be true. So we're just going to right click on double jump, come down to the jump landed. So I'm just going to put it somewhere here so everything kind of reads better. There we go. Just put this one a little higher so we know that's the double jump. And this one needs to be grounded. So we're going to allow grounded to be true, and it fires off into here, fires off into there. That looks good. And now we just need to call this trigger in the flow graph. And as you noticed, it happens in this second jump here. So we're just going to copy this set animator. No, it's not. So we're going to drag from the true here. We're going to type in animator.set trigger this time. And the trigger was called double jump. And then we're going to plug that back into the force. So that should now fire the second jump once we go into the air. Let me clean this up a little so we don't have thousands of the same variable in places. So all I did was just delete the get input, and I'm just using the get input up there. Okay, so let's test if the animation plays. We can look inside the animator, select the character so it will show the correct animator when playing. Character's moving around. When I jump and then I jump again, so it played it. If I jump and I jump again, it plays the same animation twice. There we go. Nice. One jump, two jumps, and it works in different areas. So depending on where you jump, there we go. So that's looking really good. So now that we've cleaned up from the previous video, I'm just going to save this and save project, because as we noticed in the previous video, Unity probably is going to crash. So we just got to be ready for that. Now I'm going to attempt a really nice way to do a wall jump, and we're going to be using a raycast like we did for when we checked for the floor, but we're going to raycast in the direction that he's moving, so that if he's facing the wall and I jump, all I'm going to do is he's going to jump off this wall, but he's got to be in the air. So the wall jump will be checked to see if he is grounded. Raycast, if it hits this wall, I'm going to launch him away from this wall and up, and then set his rotation to match this side. So all I'm going to do is kind of set up like, and this you can change based on the kind of system you want. If I do it, it's going to be very much like your kind of your typical Darksiders, that kind of thing. So all I do is if I do my job right, jump at this wall, hit jump, and all I do is just hit the jump button, and the character will keep jumping from side to side. And then at the end, I just need to direct him onto which ledge I want to land. So I'm just going to duplicate this side here, so I can just, in case I land on this side, I have some floor to land on. I'm just going Control D to duplicate, and then holding down Control, and just do so that I get this nice snapping occurring. Okay, so let's do this and see what happens. Like I said, this is my prep for your class, so I'm prepping as I'm doing, so chances are I'm going to copy this, that some of these won't work the first time, so we just got to do it together. And again, we're going to grab this, and I want to check if grounded is true, so I'm going to go branch. And the thing is, we also have this jump system right here, cheapers, right here, that needs to basically work. So I'm going to double check. We need to get this input. Just going to separate these two systems for now and probably combine them again. So we're going to check if, this time we don't want to check if grounded is true, we just want to check if it is equal to, make a bool literal from the bottom, false. So if it's equal to false and jump has been pressed, we, cheapers, I don't have to copy every single update every single time. There we go. I'm going to plug it directly into here, and then what we're going to do is we're checking to see if the button's been pressed, and if you're in the air, and now we're going to raycast. So we need to do a physics.raycast, and we want to raycast from the origin, direction, max distance, and layer mask. We want to check the direction in which we are raycasting. So, I mean, and what layer we're hitting, what distance, all of that. So the origin is simple. We're going to type in transform.position, and we're going to get the position of the character. We're going to raycast from him, and the direction. Now, this is where it gets interesting. In a 2D game, essentially, forward is away from camera. So I'm going to be hopefully raycasting to the right, and I've noticed the player character's pivot is really low on the ground, so I'm going to need to create, we'll need to create a empty object. So I'm going to go Control Shift N, create an empty. I'm going to parent it to the player, and I'm just going to reset by clicking this, the little gear or cog, and all I'm going to do is just move this up a little till it's kind of somewhere in the middle of the character. So I think the character's 0.64 is the center of the character, so I'm just going to put it in the middle here, and I'm just going to give this a name called this raycast start, just so that the problem is if you raycast at the bottom of the feet, you're going to be hitting all of these colliders, and you're going to get some really interesting false positive results. We're going to apply this, and then we're going to use this raycast as the starting point. So we can't use that no longer because we need to use the grade. So I'm going to just quickly create a reference to this as a variable. I'm going to call this raycast start, and we're just going to get the transform again. Reason for using just a transform and not anything major like a game object is because I really just need to get where the position of this object is, and that's resides in the transform component. Yes, so drag this out and I type in position. If I could spell properly again, transform.position. Oh my goodness, like as I say that, I just spell it even worse than the first time. Okay, so we're going to get the transform of this to start the raycast. And like I said, I'm hoping if I've set this up right, but we can do a little debug system, which I'll show you how. It's really nice, especially with raycasts. They can get a little confusing, so it's good to have just a little reference in the editor of what it looks like. I'm going to go into wireframe because when it comes to the time, you want to see it. From the direction, I'm going to drag out. I'm going to type in vector3.right because I want to raycast to the right, if I remember correctly. And we already have a raycast distance here, but I'm going to create a new one just for safety's sake because that one is for the grounded, so we don't want to be messing with that one in case it affects the ground hit. So this one's going to be wall jump. Let's call it ray forward. Ray forward, and it's going to be a float. And the character's middle is 0.6, so I need to raycast. I'm going to raycast out for about 0.7. That sounds a fair value. I'm going to drag this in, and that is going to be the distance at which I'm raycasting. Now this is weird. This kind of game had my walls and my floor are the same thing, so I'm going to be raycasting for the ground. So from the layer mask, I'm going to just type in layer mask.literal, and I'm going to be raycasting for the floor, but yours might be different. You might have walls, all sorts of things. So I might even have to change this now. So we're going to check if it's not grounded. We're going to go here. If we hit a wall, we need a different raycast. I just realized that. Actually, we might not need to. So let's just, I've got an idea. I'm going to try something. So we can just, because it's a 2D controller, this should be simple enough as a fix. So if we hit something, that means we're going to add force. Now the thing is, we want to add force. If I'm running this way, I want it to go in the opposite direction. Boom, 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 and so on and so forth. So we need to get the characters forward. All right. And then we're probably going to use that and multiply that into the force. So over here, we're going to do add force. And we're also going to want to create a variable just so that we can control a few other things, like the gravity might take into effect, and then he's going to drop a lot quicker. So we're going to do that. Create a variable called wall jumping. It's going to be a boolean, and by default it's going to be false. So if this comes back true, we need to set it to true. Then we need to add force in a specific direction. So we want to add force in the X predominantly, but we also want to add some force up and like basically to the X and to the Y, so that we can get him to jump up. It's no point just keep jumping across from wall to wall and you never actually go up. So we're going to create a new vector 3 just so that we can use this to drive the character up. And the simple one is Y. We know what it is, so we're going to, I'm not quite sure how much force we're going to need for this, so I'm just going to go 300 for now in the up, because I know that's how much force I want to add there. It's the X that we need to figure out what we need to get. We need to get the characters forward so that we can get the correct direction in which to go. Now, actually, let's just make our lives a lot easier here. I'm going to get us another raycast. Physics dot raycast, and we need the raycast layer. I need another result only. I need, yes, origin, direction, hit info, max distance, layer mask. Okay, so we're going to replace the one that we have because I need to get the hit info, meaning I need to get the normal of the object that I'm hitting. So we're going to do this, and we're still going to check to see if it hits something. So we're doing all of this. I just needed one extra node to be able to get some information out of here. So we're going to plug everything as it was. And I did mention early on to show what the raycast looks like. So I'm going to add it's called a debug.draw ray. Why don't you want to get, there we go. Well done. Okay, so all this does is it's basically going to draw the raycast in the editor, in the viewport, so you can see it. Because raycasts are invisible, so we can't actually see it. But in this case, I need to see if the raycast is going in the right direction. And again, the start, we're plugging in everything the same way. The direction, the color, we can make the color of the ray any color we want. So let's go for something we can spot, like a bright yellow, hopefully against this background will be visible. And then how long do we want to see the ray for? I'm going to make it about 2 seconds. So I'm just going to test this to see if it works and see which direction the raycast goes. Currently this add force is going to mess with us, but I just want to see, if I go to my little character here, what the raycast is going to look like. So this little cube right here, this little guy here is our character, so that's where we're going to be looking for the raycast. See if I can make the gizmo smaller so we can. Okay, so there he is. I'm going to jump. I'm not actually seeing a raycast. Let me just see local. I think it might actually be dot forward. I could be losing my mind, which it would not be surprising me. So let's try take this vector 3 out and add a new vector 3 dot forward, and let's see if this dot forward is giving us the correct result this time. So that's going to be for direction, that's going to be for direction. We should be seeing a yellow line on the screen here. I'm seeing absolutely no raycast. This is beautiful. Not quite sure why I'm not seeing a raycast, even though it technically is raycasting. Wait a second. So just be a little patient with me, guys. I am losing my mind a little bit. It is one of those days where everything is possibly, so let's see, grounded is not equal. That's fine. All of this seems to work. Even fires through the raycast, but it's not giving me what I want. These are set to grounded, yes. I'll zoom in a little bit here just to see if I can see it. Need to zoom out a little bit more. Okay, I'm seeing absolutely no raycast. So what I'm going to do just to make sure that the raycast is working is I'm going to bypass all of this stuff, all these checks, just to check in the viewport to see if it's working, to see what's happening. So now the raycast is going to be permanently firing. I don't need the branch to be plugged in just yet. I just want to see if I see this raycast. Okay, so this, taking a look at that, I know that I need to do a vector 3 dot right, I think, because the forward was giving me no input values at all. So now we're going to double check if this one is better. If this one changes between -1 and 1, we are on the right track here. So let's just check. Nada. I wonder if it's because I'm rotating the character. It makes no sense because technically the character should be rotating for the dot forward to work. Okay, so this isn't working. Let's move on, shall we? Let's figure out what needs to be done here. So we need to find a way to get this character's directional value, and if I scale it, actually let's try that, because I did the rotation here, so I'm going to actually scale the character in the negative and the positive based on whether or not he's going left or right, just to see if we get the right for a right vector. But that should have worked. That really should have worked. So let's just try right. Let me just type in right, see what right versions. Vector 2 dot right, vector 3 transform dot right, get. Let's try transform dot right, shall we? At least let's see if we get any values out of this that's useful. Okay, sorry. Things are a little different in... That's better. Still not getting a raycast. I want to see if this raycast actually... Okay, so maybe the raycast is a little bit small, so I'm going to... Oh, the raycast distance is not plugged in. Oh, good God. Where did my max distance go? I know that explains a few things. Wall jump, ray distance. There we go. I'm going to also make the ray a little bit longer just so I can test to see if I see it. So I'm going to make it like 3. So I can just see it and double check that everything else is working. And now okay, so it's just not visible. It's visible, if that makes sense. I'm getting a true hit when I go this way. Get close. If I go this side, it should get a true hit. So this is, I don't know why the debug is not actually debugging, but the raycast is working. So when does it turn true? False, true. Let's just see how close you got to go before it becomes true. It's quite a long raycast. There, became true 2 blocks away from the wall, which is exactly the right amount of raycast that I'm doing basically. So okay, so this is good. This is good. So we can now that we got the system working, we can just bypass all that nonsense for testing. Plug it in back here, and now we can plug all of this back in again. So we're going to check to see if the input is in. Now we're checking all of this stuff again. Now that we know that the character is moving in the right direction, we're getting all the right information. Now we just need to change that jump forward ray to be half of it. Let's go 1.5 for now. Okay. Now that we have that, we're going to get the normal. So we're going to drag from here, go to the raycast hit, and we're looking for normal. We're trying to get the normal. And the normal is what we're going to multiply the actual jump. Let's just actually call it, let's create a new variable called wall jump force. It's going to be a float. And we're going to set this to be 300. We're going to drag it in, and we're going to multiply this value by that value, because if it's the normal is essentially the direction that the polygon's face is facing. So in this case, if I hit this side of the wall here, this normal is facing in the positive x. When I hit this side of the wall, the normal is facing negative 1x. So this is negative x, positive x, and they're both going to give me a positive value, a negative value, and a positive value. So that's what I need to do to be able to take this 300 and make it into a minus 300, and vice versa. And we're going to just plug this directly into the x, and the y I'm just going to drag directly from the variable itself. Okay, let's see what happens when we jump, shall we? Now the thing is, when this happens, we're going to want to rotate the character in the right direction. Or let me just show you what I mean in order to understand. So if this raycast goes well, I'm going to hit this wall and I'm going to jump across. There we go, well done, got an error. Can't convert from Oh, my goodness. My goodness, can we actually plug that in? Should be good. Let's try that again and get rid of this error. Okay, can't convert from that to singleton. Explain your logic, young computer, young Padawan. New vector 3, we're creating a new vector based on the normal value, which was 1, multiplied by that, which put 300 into here. And did I get the 300 over there? I did not get the wall jump 300 over there. Why not? We plug that into the force. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy this again. I'm gonna plug this into the y. I'm not sure why the y wasn't giving me a value that like a value that it should have, because all I was just using was the exact same variable there. And I'm hoping this resolves our little error situation. Because we got the right value here, so that's what makes me happy. So check now if we're going to get an error, but I just want to check these values. More than getting an error, I need to see if I'm getting the right value here. Oh, okay. I see what I'm doing. My apologies. My apologies. This is vector 3. I'm trying to multiply it by a float. Whoops. Okay, so we're going to keep the multiply here. Again, it's just one of those days. And I'm going to get the... All I want to do is actually get the vector 3.x. And I want to multiply that by, because that's the only value that I want to get. It's basically the upright walls. Those are the walls we can climb. That's the walls we're going to be raycasting for. That is the walls that we need to actually get the normal of and add force. So that should now resolve that. Now we have no camera support here, so okay, so now, so the wall, now there's definitely a wall jumping. It's just, it's not adding any movement or velocity for this side here for some reason. This y value is not actually updating. So I'm going to create two variables I'm going to change this wall jump force x, and then I'm going to just call it wall x, for the love of God. It doesn't have to be that big of a name. Remember to change it inside here if you change it out there, because it doesn't actually update. And I'm going to call this wall y. It's also going to be a float, and I'm also going to make this 300. And because it took so long for this video. After this is done, we'll make a new video after that, because now I'm over the recording time. So drag this in, and we're going to plug that into the Y. And let's actually see if we get any the response from the controller that I want. Because that should say 300 and that should say 300. There's no reason why it shouldn't. Interesting. So double jump works fine, except for when I hit the wall there. So the raycast is still a little bit long. If you notice there, it's like I'm able to hit, but I'm not getting them. Okay, I'm going to kill the Y. I just want to see if we actually get the side movement that I'm looking for. So I'm not getting the exact result that I want. Okay, so it is, but it looks like let's add more force. It looks like the side force needs to be a lot more. So I'm going to make it like 1,000. A lot more than that. Cheapest. How much more do we need? Okay. I think I know what the problem is, and now that's why we created the boolean here. So I'm going to actually I'm just going to make an impulse instead. So we're going to make this, just give it a little more kick, if you will. So if we now this should go pear-shaped. So might even shoot us off the screen. So let's go. That wasn't bad, actually. Now, just to test how far we actually go, I'm just going to do on this little wall. That's quite a lot. So that's good. Wall X and wall Y. So I'm going to make this like 50. And this one was good, so that doesn't need to be that high, heavy. 50 is too little now. It's almost right. 25. Now this you're going to tweak based on your level, your design. Okay, so let's go about 110, 100. Yeah, make it 110. Okay, and then we need to plug the 300 back in, because remember I unplugged it. And I'm going to make that not as high, so let me make that around about the similar values. And then we're pretty much going to be able to finish this system off by just simply rotating the character in the direction that he's moving. Oh my god. Oh my god. That was too much. Let's try that again. And also shorten the raycast. The raycast needs to be... I'm going to make the raycast 1. Okay, so there's way too much up force. So I'm going to make the Y like 2. A little more than that. 3. So this is a matter of, it's a tweaking game. So you just got to tweak stuff till you get the result that you are looking for. Almost kind of getting what I'm looking for. Almost. It's like it's a bit finicky, so I am going to tweak some of these values just for testing purposes. And there's some inconsistency that I'm not happy with. I might have to add the force one after the other, because the double jump works really nicely. Because I'm not getting the kind of movement that, ooh, that was fancy. So, actually, we can probably just add some up force and then change the direction we move to. Depends what you want to do. That might not be a bad idea, actually, just to add some up force. Put no side to side movement, so side to side movement can come from normal character controller, and then just use your like move your fingers from side to side. Almost got it right. Good God, y'all. Yeah, there's way too much up force. But yeah, I think that's not a bad idea. So what we'll do is, instead of, we're just going to put y velocity and remove the x velocity. We're going to get the normal. We don't actually need that because we're going to actually make the character jump ourselves. So all we need here is we're going to type in rigid body dot velocity get, and we just need to get the player's x velocity. So we're going to type in vector 3.x, just so that we have, make sure we still have full air control if we want to be able to change directions in the air while we're on the wall. And then there's a lot of tweaking of values. Again, a lot of tweaking. This stuff, half the battle of making a game is kind of really getting all the balancing right. So we're gonna have to tweak the system, but it currently should be working. I'm gonna plug in a controller when we come back on the next video and just test it a little bit. Call this wall jump. Okay, so hopefully this helps. Remember, all we did, and this isn't final, we're probably gonna tweak it, is I checked if the button got pressed. If I checked to see that I'm not on the ground. I raycast from the transform.right to go, so when the character is looking right, the raycast goes right. When he looks left, it goes left. I put in a distance, which is now set to 1.5 meters, I think it is. Probably could go even smaller. Some would probably make it like 1 for now and just see what happens. And then I'm looking for the ground. You could have walls, whatever it is that you might have, different kind of colliders. And then if it hits something, and it's true, we are going to do all of this. We're going to add force up, so we launch the character up. So we're going to jump off the wall, jump up, and move across. We will be able to move across with the other the sticks. That's the plan. But again, we can probably tweak the system, make it better, make it more to fit your needs. I'm just trying to do little things as I can here, to get the best result in the shortest amount of time. But we'll do that in the next video. So thanks so much, guys.